Ooh, I love you guys.
Your cam, your virtual thing isn't on, Jazz.
Oh, for you guys, okay. You guys
I
can
can't-
see. There you go.
yeah.
Now you guys can see. There you go.
I need to see myself 3
You
times here.
see yourself 3 times. Okay,
OBS,
thank you.
ping.
OBS
Look at
still
that.
crashed on us again.
We're talking about such high frame rates, resolutions, bit rates that
And guys, you
it
know
all
what? Apple's so great, and AirPods, they're so fun, and their MacBooks, like, I love Apple. We love Apple. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I saw a quick question.
right.
No, you did not have to re-enter the keyword in order to enter the giveaway. You guys are all good. The giveaway entries are all stored on Nightbot, so don't need to re-enter. You guys are still entered. All right. Next question is gonna be from Out of Order Show. Does 4KX work for the Thunderbolt 4 protocol?
It does, but only because Thunderbolt 4 under the can also run essentially as USB. So it'll work on a Thunderbolt 4 port. Yeah. Just plug it in.
So basically, it won't break a sweat.
Exactly.
It's like, this is all you got.
Yep. And then that's actually seems to be all the questions for specifically 4KX. So let's go ahead and move on to some more questions for 4K Pro.
I think we can just juggle between the two, no?
Yeah, we could do that as well. That's fine too. Yeah,
we can manage.
Questions can be from someone on YouTube, from Gox the Plays. Hello, for 4K Pro, I don't have PCIe X4 on my motherboard. Can I use PCIe X1 to PCIe X4 riser or PCIe 3.0?
You do need a PCIe 2.0 by 4 slot, or basically that speed for the card to work at like 4K 60. If you use a riser, that could also work, but you just need to ensure that, again, the slot that it plugs into and the riser cable itself support PCIe at minimum, PCIe 2.0 by 4. One thing to also consider is that the speed of the slot can only go down, it can't go up, whereas the generations basically can change, right? So if you have a PCIe 3.0 by 1 slot, that won't work, because what happens is when you plug the card in, it'll actually make it a PCIe 2.0 by 1 slot. And whereas if you had a PCIe 2.0 by 16 slot, like that could go down to by 4. So yeah, it's just yeah, you should have a PCIe 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0 by 4 slot, and then it'll work.
I mean, if we want to get like really nitty gritty, because it is on our YouTube channel, because when you were going over the capture card selector, I wanted to like break it so bad, because you're like, oh well, if you have a laptop, then you automatically can't have an internal card. I'm like, what if I buy an eGPU, Phil, like the rocket storage thing? I got that thing to work, so I broke your selector.
That works.
So yeah, if you have a Thunderbolt port, they make like the eGPUs, which is kind of like a PCIe to Thunderbolt adapter. And if you have like the bandwidth, we tested it was something from Rocket Storage or something like that. And you could technically get it to work. It's a bit of a ginormous setup, but we're just feeling we just wanted to have fun that day, you know.
There's also a great article on our help page which really dives into everything. It's literally called All About PCIe, where you can learn all about it. It helps you identify which generation of PCIe slot it is, what the speed is, what it runs at, and some other helpful information. So I'm just going to spam the link in chat here for a little bit, and then hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Jeff. So next question is gonna be from Armely. Do these new cards have a way to automatically handle HDR color for streams, or do we still need to adjust per game in the 4K capture utilities picture color configuration settings?
So the tone mapping settings are going to be static, right? Like there's just one set of tone mapping configuration on 4KX and 4K Pro. If you don't like the way it looks for a particular game, then I would suggest doing the color adjustments just in OBS Studio. You can add like a color filter and slightly tweak it there. That's how I would suggest doing it. We are still always evaluating, and we're already working on new firmware updates. So that's also something where you can let us know, like just generally, like what do you think? If you're playing in HDR, you're capturing in SDR, the tone mapping. Do you like it? Is it too dark, too bright? Contrast, all of that. Just let us know. Not saying we'll act on it right away, but it's definitely good for our team so that they can take that back and then make sure that we adjust it and find a nice balance. I should also preface, I should have said that there's no industry standard way of converting HDR to SDR, right? How do you take something that has this much information and shrink it down to this much? What do you kind of do? You have to get rid of something. So the question is more like, what do you get rid of? Do you get rid of some shadow detail? Do you get rid of some highlights? Do you kind of, there's not much contrast. You kind of keep everything in the middle. So it's just something where we kind of almost literally have to eyeball it. And that's where, again, your feedback comes in. So if you have our current capture devices, or if you get a 4KX or 4K Pro, let us know. What do you think?
All right, next question is going to be from Meet Vic. Will these capture cards capture headset mic audio?
No. Not the capture cards themselves. And we kind of covered that with ChatLink, how ChatLink doesn't capture headset and mic audio either. Just, make sure that if you are using a ChatLink, that you also have another microphone that's then actually your stream or like live commentary mic.
Next question is going to be from Matt Yahiko. Can both cards convert HDR coming in to SDR for recording within OBS?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So both 4K Pro and 4KX have onboard tone mapping. So all of the conversion from HDR happens on the device, and then OBS Studio or other applications, they get a video feed that's already in SDR. So it's ready to be used right away.
Next question is going to be from Rums107. Can you use a 4KX and 4K Pro at the same time if you were trying to capture multiple things?
Ooh, we got a baller over here. Someone who's going big. Sure, yeah, you can. If you plug in the 4K Pro inside your PC, find a USB-C slot on your on the motherboard, and there you go. Sure.
Next question is going to be from.
Yeah, one thing that's
go ahead, Jeff.
To touch on that a little bit. I don't remember, my short-term memory, I guess, is going, but you were mentioning that because you were talking about earlier about the 3.2 Gen 2 USB port. And so that's really interesting to note, because I forget if you went deep into this, where you want to make sure that your computer actually has those ports, because it is kind of interesting to see the kind of spread that computers have for the ports. Like if you have a MacBook with the Thunderbolt, that obviously works.
Yep.
My MSI laptop, for example, has one Thunderbolt port and I think maybe one USB-C port. And that's the thing. 4KX comes with a USB-C to C cable that is properly rated for 10 gigabits per second, because sometimes that can be, not every cable can do that. So you want to make sure you have that. But yeah, so you want to make sure that that you have it plugged into a 10 gig port. Otherwise, if you want all the full resolutions and stuff like that available to you.
Yep. It'll still work on a regular 5 gigabit per second port. Just on the higher end, on some of the higher resolutions and frame rates, you won't be able to capture those. Interestingly enough, though, and again, we'll have to save this for another day in the interest of time, even if you go on a 5 gigabit per second port, 4K 144 and 4K 120 capture still work. If anyone in chat has a theory on why that is, I'd love to see some guesses. But again, we'll have to leave the actual technical talk for that for another day.
I think a rule of thumb, though, is if you were let's say that you're oh crap, my computer doesn't have this. I think a rule of thumb for what works beyond what you had tested there is just if an HD60X can do it, then through the 5 gig, then so can 4KX using that same port. I think would be safe to say, right, Phil?
Absolutely, yep. And no, it's not witchcraft.
So yeah, just something to keep in mind, just because usually with USBs, especially so I use a laptop, and sometimes unless you have a Thunderbolt port, you can run out of those USB ports really quickly. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Awesome.
But it is also nice to know that you can use it on the 5 gig as well. So it's it's just not to the fullest capability. We do not recommend USB hubs, because that is a recipe for things to go wrong. Yes, technically you can hook it up, but not to dive too much into it, but like on computers, sometimes a USB port, like even like 5 gig ports, right, might not be fully 5 gigs because it might be splitting the same USB hub, or bus. So you might have one USB bus that's got 5 gigabits total, that it's doling out to like 2 or 3 ports. And so if you have 3 power hungry devices, all on those ports, you're going to be, asking for a bad time. So USB hubs can basically exacerbate that. So if you have like a Thunderbolt dock, because there's so much bandwidth there with Thunderbolt, then that's fine. But USB hubs, have good luck.
I saw Jeff B said that's what you say until you make a hub, and you know what? You might be right. No.
All right. Next question is going to be from Gaming Landon 350. Is it compatible with a laptop?
Yeah, 4KX is compatible. Yes. You can either, plug it into the laptop and record. Again, make sure that it meets the minimum requirements, right? Go on the 4KX product page, go all the way to the bottom and look at the specifications, make sure that your laptop meets the system requirements. Or on the other hand, you can also capture a laptop, right? Most of them have an HDMI output. So if you had a different computer, then you can like game on your laptop and record that.
Awesome. Next question is going to be from Arrow Uprising. What is the difference between the new 4K Pro and 4K 60 Mark II besides HDMI 2.1?
That's actually just the biggest difference right there. So the 4K Pro kind of takes the original 4K 60 Pro Mark II and just expands on that in the pass-through capability. So it can do 8K 60 HDR pass-through, but then it captures that at 4K 60 HDR. It can do 4K 240 HDR pass-through, and then it captures that at 1080p 240. But that's why it's got the same kind of look to it and the same PCI, because it's just taking that card and adding some more capability onto there.
Next question is from Damien's Gaming. Does 4K Pro handle any of the encoding?
No, and actually that's another really, like, it's a great question, because back when capture cards really kind of were in their, I mean, they're still in their prime, but like 2012, 2013, 14, when it was still primarily USB 2, they would actually handle video encoding. And then there were even some capture cards that allowed you to send like video to them, and they would even encode the video. That hasn't been the case for a long time. Ever since basically USB 3 and PCI capture cards became the mainstream, what they do is they bring the HDMI signal or that video signal into your computer, do a little conversion there so that your computer understands what it's working with, and then you can use it in an app. But modern capture cards from us, from pretty much anyone else, they don't do any video encoding anymore.
Yeah, I mean, really, that the encoding was mostly born out of necessity, because with like HD60, that was like, so technically 4K 60s Plus did encoding, and it's when you're trying to pass through a ton of data over a small, bandwidth cable, right? So when HD60 came out, it was USB 2, and we were pushing 1080p 60 out of that thing, which was just like crazy for the time, and that was done because of encoding. And then when 4K 60s Plus was out, we were doing 4K 60 HDR over USB 3 5 gigs. So it's like that was also, a necessity basically. But with that also came like delays and stuff like that. And, it didn't really come to a big benefit on the computer side, because like, a lot of people were like, oh, well, I have a lower, this was the thing back with HD60. It's like, oh, if you have a lower spec computer, if you're recording, you can have these lower specs because of the encoded video, because our software specifically like accepted that encoded video and just wrote it to disk. But as soon as you used any of those into like OBS or whatever, encoding was actually worse, because OBS would unencode it and then re-encode it, and so it actually take up more resources. So this is, it's been a while since I've heard this question, so I'm sorry that I'm kind of going off on it, but on a tangent on it. But yeah, so not really a thing that you deal with, and we deal with anymore, but since 4K 60s Plus. But thinking back to that, it's crazy, because with that, it's like, it was a $400 capture card. It was the first 4K 60 external capture card, ever. But yeah, it was 400, and it had like a delay because of the encoding. And now with 4KX, you have the what do we call it, the instant game view or whatever, like the ultra low latency. And at such a lower price point, it's just what a time to be alive.
Awesome. And then, let's actually get a pull up. I'm kind of curious for everyone in chat. Were you guys going to capture 4KX or 4K Pro if you guys were to win this giveaway? Or if you guys are already purchasing it or already have it in your hands, So let's go ahead and get that pull up. And you guys are free to also just post it in chat. I want to see what you guys
At the same time, someone also asked us, they said, so which of you three is using a capture card and which one? And what are you going to be playing and doing with it? I can go first, and I can say, I mean, I use both. So I have a 2 PC setup, partially because I also like to stream myself, but also, kind of for work. I want to be able to talk about this stuff with you guys. So yeah, I've used a 4K Pro. I had 8K video running into it. Oh my gosh, my PC was dying, my gaming PC, trying to run Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora in 8K. It certainly wasn't running at native, right? But yeah, I was doing that. And actually, speaking of that, maybe I can also a little tangent while people vote, but go on the Elgato Workshop channel and just show you guys something that we've done. So if you're curious about the quality that you can capture at with these new devices, let me switch over here. All right. So we actually uploaded a couple quality sample videos to our Elgato Workshop channel. So these are videos where the raw recording has been uploaded to YouTube, and we have a couple different versions. We have a 4K at 120 FPS capture from 4KX here with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. We have the Avatar footage. Again, this was playing in 8K, but it was captured in 4K 60. And then we also have a 4K 60 input and 4K 60 capture here of Returnal. There's also Cyberpunk, and we're going to be uploading a couple more. So if you want to, just see what it looks like. The other cool thing is these videos, we even linked the raw files via Google Drive. So if you want to check them out, you can actually go and download the file and play back the full 4K 60 HDR without YouTube's recompression. Or more interestingly is the Call of Duty clip here, right? Because YouTube obviously doesn't support 4K 120, just 4K 60, but you can download the 4K 120 file if you want to and play that on your own system. So as we mentioned earlier, we try to give you guys everything so that you can make a decision on which device is right for you, and take all the time that you want to figure out 4K Pro, 4KX, what does the quality look like? How does it work? All of that.
Awesome. I think my answer would just be simple. I would definitely pick the 4KX because I would just want to stream my Switch games. So I only have a Switch, and I love playing Switch games whenever I can. So 4KX would be my choice.
You need to switch it up a little bit and do other things as well.
But then we need that soundboard.
We do, yeah.
I would be using 4K Pro. I plug in new things and old things so much out of the USBs, just like, but having a capture card in there is like a nice constant, and so I like to just set it and forget it there. And yeah, I actually kind of want to, I haven't streamed or or recording gameplay. I haven't done that in ages, but streaming gameplay, I actually wanted to start again soon on both Xbox and PS5, because I started rewatching the Halo season 1 because the new one's coming out, and like after I watched that, I'm like, man, I really just want to play through the entire doing like the, what do you call it, the remastered or whatever for Halo 1, and then with the Master Chief Collection and stuff like that. But then also the new Final Fantasy 7 drops soon, so I really want to go through the first part of Final Fantasy 7 and then kind of go through I don't know if you guys played the Final Fantasy 7 remake, but that game was baller.
Awesome. And I think we're going to ask one last question, and then Jeff, I'm going to hand it over to you afterwards so that way we can talk quickly about the comparison charts for everyone in chat. But first off, this is going to be a question from... I saw the question somewhere. Where did it go? One moment. I might have lost it.
Please hold.
Please
Question
hold.
search is in
Question search is
progress.
in progress. I saw a pretty good one. Let me see. Oh, found it. This is a question from Lawrence Brenner. What plugins for Stream Deck would you use with these capture cards?
Ooh, that is an interesting question. Well, for one, there is a 4K capture utility plugin. So if you're on Windows, you have a Stream Deck and you want to record, you know, you can either like put a laptop on your, maybe on a coffee table, and you can have a Stream Deck plugged into it, and you just tap one button and go back and capture. Or, I mean, what else is there? Just stuff to control, like OBS, for example, if I was live streaming. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. What would I use? I think that's about it.
I would dust off some old alpha prototype software that had like, or actually, I don't even know if I should say, but it
Ooh,
was like a cool thing. I mean, it's not. I mean, like it's something that like you can do in OBS if you like do a bunch of steps. I like, but like instant replay kind of stuff. I always kind of find that kind of stuff really cool, where it's like adding like real time production value stuff into like a Twitch stream, and yeah, I like that's one of my favorite ways. Like I used to do it the long, or it's a little bit involved for OBS, but yeah, being able to add that in is such a fun thing to show off. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and show the comparison chart between 4KX and 4K Pro. So Jeff, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so the biggest difference between the 4KX and 4K Pro, I mean, like the biggest question you have to ask yourself is what resolutions you kind of value more, or you know, how, or the pass-through versus capturing. So the biggest difference between 4K Pro and 4KX is that 4K Pro can pass through 8K 60 and 4K 240 FPS, which is definitely like the top of the top end as far as setups go. And so I think that you know, if you are somebody who saw that in like light bulbs sort of like lit, you already know that you're getting. I feel like the people who know they're getting 4K Pro are getting that, you know. But 4KX is actually, you know, I think somebody else said it was like a workhorse, like because the amount of resolutions in the middle with like the 4K 120 and everything like that, and like what it can capture is really impressive for being an external capture card. So if we go through the list here, you know, so the 4KX can do 4K 144 SDR, which is just nuts for an external capture card. And then 1440p 60 HDR, while 4K Pro can do 4K HDR capture. So 4K Pro is like really kind of streamlined for like streaming, where you have the pass-through resolutions. And if you're doing 4K 60 pass-through, you can HDR, you can do the 4K 60 capture. And then when you're doing those higher and then also the 8K pass-through and 4K capture. But when you're doing the higher like 4K 240 or 4K 144, etc., your capture resolution is 1080p in those frame rates. And so perfectly fine for most YouTube, and more than enough for Twitch. I mean, how many people still stream at 720p on Twitch? But 4KX is really awesome in the sense that it has a lot more of those 4K resolution capture resolution and frame rates, which is really cool. And I mean, both of them are going to support HDR, but the HDR for 4KX is more limited than 4K Pro. So 4K, or so if HDR is your bag, then 4K Pro is really great there. Literally every resolution it takes in, it can capture in HDR, which is awesome. And then when you see the bottom here, there's so many similarities between these cards. And so like I really think that it comes down to, if you have a particular display that you have like a target that you want to play in basically, and you kind of compare those two supported resolution and frame rate sheets between the two cards and see which one just resonates with you more. And I think that for most people, you know, just because 8K is still kind of up there in terms of like accessibility and stuff like that and cost. I think that more people, and especially because you can use laptops too, I think more people are going to find that 4KX might suit their needs. But that's just if I were a betting man.
Real quick, Jeff, you can go ahead and explain what
Yes.
SDR is. Kim Yap is asking in chat.
Yeah, so SDR is a standard dynamic range. So it's basically what we've been used to for the past 40 years of television, and HDR basically expands that range so colors are more vibrant. So the max brightness you have is brighter, the compared to the darkest dark and everything like that. And so this expanded color gamut, our capture cards support, to go along with these new TVs that are supporting it. However, when you're creating content, you have to think about like the end user, right? And so a lot of people, when they're playing in HDR, they'll still want to create their content in SDR, because like the pipeline to editing that content and sharing it, or especially like streaming it, like it's going to end up in SDR in some sense. Anyway, so with our capture cards, they actually have that built-in conversion in them just to make the process a lot simpler. So you can play and enjoy the nice vibrant colors on your TV if you have an HDR TV. But then when you have your recorded files, it's ready to throw into whatever your favorite editor is, and you don't have to worry about anything kind of too crazy.
Yeah, HDR is awesome to play in, and I mean, it's even awesome to capture. But man, I wish the editing workflow was easier. That's for sure.
All right.
Yeah, we sponsored a we sponsored a video from Epos Fox, who's a great YouTuber, especially for capture cards, and just to basically highlight the very involved process that is HDR workflow if you're creating an HDR product from start to finish. I don't know if it's gotten easier since he did that, because it was a couple of years ago, but I don't know if it's gotten much better.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with the last comparison chart. This is going to be between the 4KX and HD60X.
You want me to take this one? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, you can go ahead, Phil.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, this one's just as, there's an upgrade in almost every way here. In terms of design, they look very similar, right? They have an HDMI input, HDMI output, USB port, and then the analog at the front for chat link. But besides that, nothing is the same. Everything internal is different. So on the capture front, 4KX could capture 4K 30 or 1080p 60 HDR. Of course, HD60X. My gosh, so many X's and numbers and this and that. HD60X could capture 4K 30 or 1080p 60 HDR, and 4KX can capture 1440p 60 HDR, and also 4K 30 HDR. I don't think 4K 60 HDR, unfortunately, USB 10 gigabit is just still slightly too slow for that. But if you go to SDR, then you can capture all the way up to 4K at 144 hertz. So if you have a 4K 120 input signal or a 4K 144 from a PC, you can absolutely capture that if you want to. Everything else, though, at that point is very similar. So you can, of course, capture, I mean, I was kind of talking about it, HDR. They can pass through, and they support VRR, so variable refresh rate. They support basically any source that is unencrypted. Again, we kind of purpose built it for consoles, but it'll work with your a PC or an iPhone or an iPad or something like that. You get our awesome 4K capture utility software with it on Windows. It'll work in pretty much any application, so OBS Studio, Meld Studio, XSplit, and the other big difference between the two kind of goes along with the resolution, though, is HDMI 2.1. So HDMI 2.1 is supported by 4KX, but not by HD60X. HD60X uses HDMI 2.0. And all of this information is also, if you're on the product pages, I think, I showed them a little bit earlier, you can also find this type of table if you scroll down there, right? We have that type of comparison table as well.
Thank you, Phil. And yeah, I didn't realize Jeff is technical difficulties. Welcome
I just
back.
had to turn on a light real quick.
I come back, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I am back. Sorry about that.
No, you're
But no,
good.
one thing I wanted to show that's in our overview videos, if you check those out on our YouTube channel, is just like a quick little you basically the supported resolutions of 4KX and how it compares kind of side by side against HD60X, because I think it's really the best way to see the jump from the one generation to another. So if I switch to this, so basically you have the blue equals HDR SDR of what can be captured, depending on the incoming signal. And then the green is SDR only. So this is 4KX. And if you go to HD60X, everything that's grayed out is stuff that this cannot handle. So when you think about how more than half gets grayed out or is like locked, and that's what you unlock by upgrading to 4KX, the difference is pretty staggering. And then the same thing for 4K60 Pro Mark II, going to 4K Pro, there's a lot of gray that becomes blue. So there's just so many more things that you unlock with this new generation. So I invite you to check out those little intro videos, and you can take little screenshots or whatever you want. But I think that's really just like the biggest, like, oh, that's the difference between them, is when you see all of the 4K 144 or 4K 120 resolutions. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. Yeah, it's still nuts to see, in my opinion.
And
Awesome.
all with the idea that, again, it kind of gets out of your way. The capture card also shouldn't be something where you're fighting with it every time you want to record. You plug it in, you leave it there, you leave it connected to your computer, and you play if you want to play, you stream if you want to stream, but you kind of forget that it's there. Ideally, right? It's weird for us to say, but like you just forget the capture card is there. It's just, capturing it just works.
Yeah, and with that, I think that wraps up the stream, everyone. So we hope this was very informative. Was it a lot of information was came out for you guys, informative for you guys, and we hope you guys all had great questions. Like there's a ton of questions that we wish we could answer, but unfortunately we do have to call the stream here. We did go a little. Actually, kind of like a lot past over the original time frame that we had, but we had a great time trying our best to answer all your questions. We'll definitely be doing a Discord Q&A though, sometime in maybe I'll announce the date for you guys. So make sure to join the Discord server, and that way we can go ahead and answer all the remaining questions there. But you guys can also just at us on Twitter or stuff like that. So that also works. But let's go ahead and get ready to draw the winners. So you guys have a couple more minutes until we will draw them. So we're gonna draw
Can I
the
say
Twitch.
something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No. Finish up. I thought you were just gonna let people enter.
No, I was gonna say, we're gonna go ahead and draw the Twitch winner first. Just as a reminder, the giveaway is only for, the US, Canada, and Europe regions. So just so you guys know, and you guys do need to be present. Otherwise, we will re-roll for a new winner. I remember seeing earlier, you do not have to choose which capture card you guys want immediately. You guys can choose that once I reach out to you guys. That way you guys have some time to think, and if you guys need any help on picking which capture card you want, you guys can just let me know, and I can send you like a comparison chart, or I'll help you to pick. So, but yeah, and for YouTube's giveaway is a little bit different, guys. There is no keyword on YouTube. You do need to check, I believe it's the pin message. It's a Google form that you will have to fill out, guys. So do not spam next gen in chat on YouTube, please. Because I don't think
that is the keyword, right?
Next gen is for Twitch. For Twitch, yes. For YouTube, no. There's no keyword for YouTube. Messaging next gen on YouTube will not help you enter at all. That is not how you enter. Enter by filling out the Google form that I believe is pinned in chat for YouTube. Stop spamming next gen in YouTube chat, guys. I see you guys. Yeah, no double entries. No double entries. Also for like the Google form, you will be disqualified if you try entering more than once. You can only be entered once there. So only enter once on the YouTube form, all right? Otherwise, you guys won't win. Because it's only once per, one entry per person.
Oh. Phil, I'm going to enter with all of those auto caption personas. Sty from Elgato, Sticky from Elgato.
And then Elgato, and then just Gato.
Storage from Elgato.
Oh, it's great. Whenever Steggy makes his videos, the auto translate gets the name of both Elgato and Steggy wrong. It just can't handle it. So there's been some good laughs there. But what I wanted to say was this went on longer than expected, and right after this, I'm heading off to go snowboarding, and I've
Ooh.
heard there's a lot of rain and a lot of snow. So if I get stuck in a snowstorm driving up, it's because I was here and I was talking with you guys about capture cards. Just know that, out of my heart, I took extra time.
Oh, I see some
So I
questions
gotta.
real quick. Just to
Oh,
clarify for the giveaway, you can enter once on Twitch and once on YouTube. That is fine. But also, there's only gonna be one giveaway per, or is it one winner per platform. So there'll be one winner on Twitch and one winner on YouTube. Both of those winners can choose whichever capture card they want between 4K-X and 4K Pro. So total of 2 winners in all, but 1 per platform.
But why not both?
So
No,
Phil, I gotta ask, because you are actually a big fan of Apple. We were having our fun earlier.
Oh,
Do you have the Apple Watch Ultra with the built-in satellite whatever for to keep you safe on your snowboard trip?
A, yes. B, slight tangent from that even. We have a Vision Pro coming in tomorrow. We will be testing it with capture cards, right? If you have an iPad or a Mac and you plug your, you want to play inside your Vision Pro, in spatial reality, or spatial computing, whatever they're calling it, then yes. So we'll be testing that out. Everything is pointing to it will work, which is kind of cool. We just have to check what the latency is, right? Because you'd be going from capture card to Mac wirelessly to Vision Pro, and then you could have like a huge screen, but that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. With
So
that being said,
I then need a Neuralink so then I can plug an HDMI directly into my head.
all right. And then with that being said, everyone make sure to go follow our socials because there may or may not be another giveaway on our socials soon. I don't know if that's out yet right now, but keep an eye out. You guys do want to follow our Twitter for sure. Join the Discord server too, guys, because there will be a giveaway there as well. So make sure you join the Discord exclusive.
And
so
even though there's no shout out, or sorry, there's no giveaway, but shout out to all the Reddit homies.
yes, shout to Marielle for the amazing comparison chart. I saw a lot of people actually in chat mentioning like how great that was and how useful it was for them. So shout out to Marielle as well and to the entire team here. So thank you, Phil and Jeff, for being here and answering all the questions. Like I appreciate you guys so much. And chat, can we get some hearts in chat, please, for everyone on the team? So we hope you guys enjoyed the launch today. And yeah, we'll definitely talk to you guys soon. So let's go ahead and start rolling the giveaway winner. So all the hearts, yes. Let's go ahead and count down from 5. All right. So, chat, you guys want to count down with me? 5, 4,
4,
3.